Welcome to the tokenmarket.net podcast. I am your host, Gavin Knight. Thank you for tuning in. Check out our site for digital asset research, a calendar of upcoming events, and many future upcoming releases. Our podcast features team members of projects in the cryptocurrency space to help shed light on their developments. Just because a project is on our podcast doesn't mean we recommend investment, so always research and engage wisely. Hi, I'm here with Mona El Isa, the CEO and co-founder of Melonport, which is a blockchain software for asset management, or basically asset management software on Ethereum. So why don't you tell me just the basics of how this works? What does Melonport do?
Hey, Gavin. Sure. So Melonport is the private company behind the Melon Protocol. So the Melon Protocol is the blockchain software for asset management. And it basically aims to do four things. Say the first is it enables you to set up a fund. And I think that's probably the most important thing. So by setting up a fund, I mean predefining the parameters by which the fund can act, or the portfolio manager can act. So the way we do this is we kind of outsource, or we have this kind of compulsory core, which every single fund or portfolio has to have. And then we outsource the areas where there's room for opinion and optionality, depending on people's needs and requirements, into modules. And we have these different module classes. So a module class could be something like an exchange, price feeds, risk management modules, asset class universe. That's really important. I'll get to that maybe later. But basically, these are this is an open source protocol. So we're building the initial set of kind of modules, but anyone could potentially add in kind of their own branded or modules under their own personal profile or under their entity. And the idea is that fund manager selects kind of what management fee does he or she want to charge, which exchanges does he or she want the fund to ever be able to interact with. So if it's Ether Delta, for example, they select that module. They could select more than one module. And they deploy this fund once all the kind of modules are added into the portfolio structure. Once the fund is deployed, the second thing that the protocol allows you to do is allows the fund manager or assigned fund managers to manage the fund within those parameters. And obviously, because this is all smart contract based on Ethereum, the kind of the rules of the fund, so to say, are enforced by the blockchain technology. The third thing I think is pretty cool about the protocol is it allows anyone pretty much to set up a personal track record of investing in crypto assets, initially ERC20 tokens specifically, since we're building a completely decentralized, or we're trying to build a completely decentralized product here. And this is pretty important in the asset management space because, auditing costs obviously come at a price, and so do marketing costs. But in this way, we standardize performance. So comparing performance between fund managers becomes really easy to do. And the last thing the protocol allows you to do is invest in other funds or allow other people to invest in yours. So I think I would pretty much wrap it up like that.
Yeah, so you're going to be doing speaking of costs, you're going to be doing a token sale. So what are the terms of the token sale, and what is the functionality of your token?
So our token is basically a purely utility token. Actually, our token is a very critical part of the protocol because in order to use the protocol, you need to pay a kind of software licensing fee in Melon token. This will probably be imposed on trading activity, but we're not sure. We're still finalizing the governance structure. But more importantly, the Melon protocol will be like a blockchain on a blockchain. So there'll be an inherent inflation once we launch the protocol in its entirety. And the new Melon tokens created will go towards the developers who are building modules which are being used. So we very highly incentivize development on the protocol. And in this way, we also future-proof it. Regarding the token sale, the terms aren't public yet, but we're launching it on February the 15th, and it will all be kind of published on our social media channels. We're just raising. We're going to raise in two phases, so we'll issue 50% of the tokens in February to fund our first year, and then when we have a clearer idea of our second year costs, we'll issue the other 50% of our tokens next year.
Right, so let's just, you're in Switzerland, and I know a lot of Ethereum startups are in Switzerland, but they're not actually in Switzerland. They're just registered there. Shapeshift is in Switzerland, but they're in Denver. But how did you find crypto and Bitcoin and Ethereum, and what brought you to wanting to start this project? Do you have experience in fund management, or where did your inspiration come from?
Yeah, so I actually happened to be living in Switzerland before I got into kind of blockchain and crypto. I I previously, in a past life, worked as a trader at Goldman and then as a portfolio manager at a hedge fund in Geneva, which made my move to Zurich a roller coaster experience because I tried to launch my own hedge fund, and it was an incredibly eye-opening experience. So even though I raised what most people would think was a fairly large amount of money, it came nowhere close to being able to run my everyday costs for the fund. And I only mentioned my past experience because all of the kind of operational and technical stuff was done for me in a past life. And when you sort of set up your own fund, you sort of almost learn how the engine works and how inefficient today's kind of processes are in the middle and back office of fund management or even just trading. So I quickly realized it wasn't sustainable, closed it down, and then decided that I was going to explore kind of fintech. I wasn't necessarily looking just at blockchain. And whilst I started focusing more on blockchain, so I actually, my goal was to take a year off just to explore blockchain. And very quickly, I realized that I was actually like 10 minutes away from what people were calling Crypto Valley, which was a nice coincidence. And that then brought me to meet like dozens of interesting people. One of them is my now partner. He's the kind of chairman and CTO of Melonport. And he was working on the Melon Protocol before I met him, actually. He came up with the original idea. And I met him, and as you can imagine, given my past experience, as soon as I figured out what he was doing, I was extremely excited to join him, and we've basically been working together on it ever since.
Yeah, awesome. I don't mean to bash any other CEO and co-founders, but you seem to know a lot about the technology, regardless. But I guess, Rito Trinkler is your CTO,
Yeah,
in
Rito.
case.
Yeah, Rito is our CTO. I have no development background whatsoever. I've got an asset management and trading
Yeah,
background.
yeah, but we were talking a little bit before, and so I've heard about some other decentralized funds and stuff, and that's fine. But I wanted to talk just about this. I asked you exactly what will be under management. Starting out will be ERC20 tokens, which is something Token Market works with, but in the sense that we get, clients come and say ERC20 is pretty good. It's now been audited a lot. There's first blood, I believe. There's a number of ERC20 tokens. So when someone uses Melonport at the nuts and bolts level, they can allow a fund manager to hold different ERC20 tokens and profit, right? This would be like the
Right.
most basic sense. And then you were saying after year one, as like things like Polkadot, which is sort of side chains kind of for Bitcoin or Cosmos, there might be potential to grow out of that. So I really liked that explanation because, it shows out the gate we're going to be able to do this with ERC20 tokens, which are already becoming very popular. I think there's probably already other projects, in the space that are ERC20. Um, and then you're going to move towards. So now that I've kind of got that out of the way, do you want to talk about kind of what the research has been so far? And I think you guys are working with Ethcore and Gavin Wood. What it's been like, sort of looking at that next step.
Yeah, it's been really fascinating. We're very lucky to work closely with Gavin and Parity Technology. They're called Parity now. I think they've rebranded Parity Technologies. But they, we spent a lot of time studying Polkadot, and then after that we also spent a lot of time studying the alternatives. And we think, as you know, I can't take the credit for this. Rito Trinkler had a very kind of light bulb moment where he said, this kind of reminds him, there's kind of this, I guess Bitcoin introduced the idea of blockchain accounting to us. And then, the evolution of that was Ethereum, which introduced the idea of embedding an entire coding language into DLT and kind of, the idea of a decentralized computer. Then the next logical step when you have a decentralized computer is for people to build software on that computer, which I guess is what we're doing. We're building the asset management software. And then the next evolution after, Rito compares it sometimes to when you had IBM doing like the kind of chunky databases back in the day, and then different people building different kind of computers, and some maybe have bigger memory. Some of them have, some of them are faster, some of them are smaller, some of them are bigger. And it feels like that's how the blockchain space is going. Everyone's building blockchains for their own needs and purposes and to suit their own requirements. And I think that's fine. But ultimately, the next evolution of that would be for all these things to connect trustlessly. And we really believe that's going to happen. We think Polkadot's probably one of the most promising solutions we've seen out there. We think Cosmos is also very good. But this space moves very fast. And I think before we make any decisions, we'll focus on getting this protocol out on Ethereum, and then spend year two focusing on nailing down our governance structure and how this protocol through the governance might be able to connect to other kind of trustless connectivity solutions such as Polkadot or Cosmos, or even both if they connect to each other. I don't know.
Yeah, and I wanted to mention that you guys do have a GitHub and do have some code there. Now, I'm not going to go through line by line because I'm also not a high-level developer, but that's always a good sign. So it looks like you've already made progress in actually codifying literally this stuff, which is really good in my mind. So if anyone is listening as a developer, you can check out github.com/melonproject because there actually is code behind this. So if I want to start a fund, do I get a percent? Like, let's say I'm going to start so I'm starting an ERC20 fund. First off, do I need to be vetted, or is there a way of telling who's profitable and who's not? Do you run the funds? And if I were to run my own fund, would I get like 5% asset management fee or something like that for doing the work?
We get nothing. Melonport never touches your funds and we never charge a fee, not even on module developers. So module developers get the full benefit. If people select, like, as an example, if Reuters Thomson were to provide a price feed module, and it's very popular and they receive tokens, they just receive the full amount of that tokens. We don't take any commission, and there's no redistribution of profits. It's purely a usage token or a utility token. I guess you can think of it about Melon actually as the kind of, on Ethereum you use gas, but for our asset management tool you use Melon.
So what I mean is it so, and I'm still learning, so hopefully the listeners are coming with me. But is it a tool for me to manage my own assets in ERC20, or is it similar to some other what do you call asset management things? Someone else let's say I put an equivalent of 5 Bitcoin worth of Melon or Ether into a fund.
Right.
Can someone else manage that and I can step away and come back and have profit, or do I use this to diversify?
Yeah.
I'm just,
So basically it's it's a tool. It not basically the short answer is it allows you to do both. So you could set up your own fund. You can open it up to outside investors, but you'd obviously have to check what if any regulatory requirements you'd need to adhere by your own jurisdiction. But most importantly, like yeah, you know, if you wanted to, like if you wanted exposure to you know, a good, say like ERC20 or crypto fund, you'd be able to kind of compare all the managers on who are using Melon. All the performance would be standardized, so it would be kind of easy to make to compare and contrast by whatever metrics you wanted to use. And then you'd be able to invest in all the funds that were available to investing with full transparency of their parameters and being able to get comfortable with, you know, what this fund manager is or isn't allowed to do with your money.
Okay.
Um,
And I have a I'm sorry to cut you off, but I have I think that answers that. I have a similar question. So you mentioned MetaMask. I know that um, Aaron's working on MetaMask. It's a MetaMask.io, really cool thing. It's like a browser-based Ethereum wallet. And then there's Parity. So if there is this extra functionality, one thing I kind of worry about is projects say, hey, you're going to be able to do this and this and this, and I'm like, I'm not a, I could figure it out, but most people are like, I'm not a developer, I just want to use it. So is there going to be some kind of like support from Parity or maybe MetaMask through your site? Like, how are people actually going to interact with uh, investing and seeing reports and things like this?
Yeah, we're also building a portal to access all of these smart contracts, so all or modules, I should say. So we already have our first proof of concept, which we released a few months ago on YouTube. I could send you the link after this interview, and that was a pretty basic proof of concept,
Yeah,
which
I'll put it in the description for anyone
sure.
that's yeah.
And it comes, so the whole thing comes with an interface. It's not a particularly amazing interface because again, this is a year two year one is all about the software and the protocol being as high quality as we can make it. Year two is about marketing, user interface, and maybe governance and connectivity. So you know, our number one priority is to make sure we have the absolute best protocol out there. And prove that we can do it on Ethereum first before we try to do anything else. And so, yes, user interface is there. We're going to actually, I think by the end of this month, we'll be releasing and publishing our new proof of concept, which Rito is working day and night to get ready before, you know, the token sale. So you'll be able to see, you know, it's even a slightly improved user interface and more functionality than the first one. But yeah, absolutely. The other thing I should mention is, you know, hopefully, not hopefully, our user interface will not be the only one. Like Melon is the back end to anyone who wants to build an interface to it, can build it under their own brand and use their own distribution. So we're building a solution, but we certainly hope we're not the only solution. And we already in talk with a few people who are interested in building front ends, which we'll also announce soon.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. There's a big thing in investing in general, like uh, kind of co-op investing. AngelList has it, just group funds. So
Mm.
if you had a back end for decentralized funds, but you could still make some profit, you could still market it and have a similar structure. That would be really really cool. Um, and so it sounds like there might be some potential there. Um, so I'd be curious if there a mechanism, say, let's say I'm going to promote the Gavin Fund. Um, um, would there be a mechanism for me to say, okay, I'm helping all my clients, and I want to automatically take some percent on fees or something like that? Or would I basically like lock it down and say, hey, I want to start a fund. I know how to trade. In order to join my fund, you have to give me, say, $100, and then I give you access. Which
Absolutely.
way?
Yeah, performance and management fees are an asset class of their own. So you literally decide like you want to charge 1% management fee and 20% performance or 0% management fee because you actually don't have much startup cost with Melon, which is kind of awesome. So you could even afford to do like 0% management fee and like 50% performance or something crazy like that, you know, which already is looking so much more attractive than funds in other asset classes.
Yeah, so you are, I mean, if people are familiar, there's this thing in Ethereum called oracles. Basically, anyone can write from the outside into Ethereum. You need a trusted partner. I know Brave New Coin is a company that's doing this now. You basically write in price data into a smart contract, and then there'd be a small fee. So, like, let's say we have these ERC20 tokens. I don't know. I guess I could list a few,
Yeah.
but still, the profit loss of those tokens is dictated by, say, Poloniex or whatever exchange, right? So
Right.
we're paying into that. So basically, you're holding it in this smart contract. How fluid? Let's say I'm ERC20 token one. I'm holding it, and I want to withdraw that and send it to the exchange. Is that possible, or is it more? Is it under the asset's control, and I have to go in and out? Does that make sense? So let's
No,
say,
I got the beginning. I didn't get the last part.
okay, so let's say I'm invested in a fund with an ERC20 token, um,
Right.
and that token is on the market. It's moving down or something, or it's moving up, and I want
Right.
to sell. Is it possible to somehow like take it out and then send it to an exchange since it is, Ethereum compatible? Or
Okay.
would
Well,
I be stuck under the structure of the fund?
again, that all depends on the parameters the fund manager, when he or she is setting up their fund, select. So if we're going to have a very basic redeem model, which looks like initially we have a very basic redeem model, but even in the real world, in kind of the traditional world, let's call it, the process of redeeming varies across every single fund or type of fund. You know what I mean? So some funds say, if you try to redeem more than 5% of my assets under management, we're going to penalize you by charging 3%, because you kind of penalize what the fund manager can do. Like, some people like to buy on dips. They don't want redemptions. They need gunpowder to buy. So I guess there will be options where you can get out, but again, if that's the option you want to have, you need to make sure that you invest in a fund that allows you to redeem whenever you want to redeem on the spot.
So how would you plan just on the base level for funds to acquire the tokens and sort of do profit? Is there a decentralized exchange, some way to do this internally with the ERC20 tokens?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the ideal, we have a complete decentralized exchange module, which anyone, sort of, I don't know if you're familiar with Ether Delta, but it's a decentralized exchange that launched a few months ago. We monitor their volume; it's increasing every day. But apart from that, we really believe the future is in decentralized exchanges, and we may even one day choose to build one ourselves. But we know of a couple of other people building them. We see, Ether Delta as a live working example with slowly increasing volumes week on week, and it would be pretty. That would be the method of buying tokens in a completely decentralized portfolio. In terms of, yeah, they could also be providers of price feeds. People may opt to choose other, centralized or other centralized versions of price feeds in their portfolio. But the point is, because we don't censor, anyone adding kind of modules. But the point is that we can offer a decentralized offering from start to finish for someone who would want that.
All right, great. Well, thanks. I know we got to wrap it up, so I just check out melonport.com. You can check out the code, which is really good to see. I wrote a blog post about how to judge a crowd sale, so they have a good amount of code there. github.com/melonproject, and their ICO is starting February 15th. This is good. I know there's been some other projects. The first one I've got to interview, um, uh, ERC20 tokens make sense with Ethereum. There's decentralized exchange. You can acquire it. You can look at the code, so that's good. And there's already plans for the future, but you guys aren't promising the universe, right? You're moving forward at a rational pace. So I really like the presentation so far and what you have, and everyone do their research, but we'll update you when the sale gets closer. That's my wrap up. So thank you so much, Mona El Isa. And also want to mention Reto Trinkler, who's doing the code. And yes, any last words about the Melon project you'd like to share, social media or places people can connect?
Sure, yeah, you can follow us on Twitter at Melonport, or please join our Slack chat. It's growing every day. It's chat.melonport.com. And also Gitter for the more technical developers. Rita would love to see more input there. And other than that, thanks very much to Gavin and Token Market for having